So I thought I was done talking about Online Store 2.0, but it appears Shopify included a new feature that didn't make it into the announcements at Unite 2021. I'm talking about Storefront Filtering. If you check out this page on Shopify's official documentation talking about theme architecture versions, you'll see that Online Store 2.0 came with improvements like sections everywhere, enhanced app support, and dynamic sources, but what they failed to mention in their Unite 2021 announcements is this massive improvement to collection filtering. As you can see here on the documentation, we can now filter collections natively in Shopify via availability, price, product type, vendor, variant options, and meta fields. So in this video, we're going to explore this new feature and start to incorporate it into our themes. So to start off this video, I thought we would look at an example of storefront filtering, and what better example than the Dawn theme, Shopify's new default theme, which showcases a lot of the Online Store 2.0 features, including storefront filtering. So I'm going to click Actions and then click View to view this Dawn theme on my store. And then I'm going to navigate to a collection. I don't have it in my navigation at present, so I'm just going to navigate there directly in my URL here. And if I go down to here, I can see that we've got our new storefront filters. So I can actually click here to filter via in stock, which all of them are in stock, so that's not really going to filter anything, but I can look at the brand and what sizes are available. The one that I think is most important and most exciting is the price filter. So now I can filter out, say for instance, we got this insane shoes here, which is $80. If I was to put in a $100 minimum, it's now looking at shoes from that $100 minimum up to $140, which is the maximum. So we're able to filter out that one. So obviously this is not the best example because we've only got 8 products and they all share similar prices, but for a bigger collection, this price filtering would become very handy. The other thing I want you to notice here is that it reloads. This is not really relevant to product filtering, but in the Dawn theme specifically, you'll see that it updates instantly. And I had somebody who commented on an earlier video make note of this, and when I looked into the network tab, I was able to see that we're reloading the whole section each time. So if I just refresh over here with my console opening up the network tab, and then going over to fetch/XHR to filter the network requests, and I go in here and filter, you can see we've made a new network request. I'll zoom in over here and then click on it. And as you can see, well, not very clearly here, but you can see we've got the query string parameters of, first of all, the greater than price of 100 and some sort by, but we're actually pulling the whole section. And we can see that if I open this up in a new tab, you can see without the CSS, which will get loaded or is already loaded on the page, we get the HTML for the section with the filter applied. I thought that was very interesting to note. Not something we're going to implement in this video, but something interesting about Dawn. So, of course, if you wanted to mimic Dawn, you could do the same thing. I'm going to show you later in the video how I would do the asynchronous loading. It's going to be through my no layout hack, which I showed you in an earlier video about how to create a collection API rather than loading up a HTML section. But I digress a little bit. We'll get to that eventually. What I'm going to do is click out of this. Inside our store admin, we can add or remove filters by heading over to navigation. At the top of our navigation page here, obviously we've got the menus, but strangely enough, we've also got collection and search filters here. As you can see, I've added some filters already. If I was to, let's say, remove some of them, like let's say I'm removing size and I hit save, let me reopen that last tab and refresh. You can see size is now no longer in this bar here for the filters. Heading back over to here, I can add different ones. So I could do vendor brand. Let's bring back size, hit done, hit save, head back over here and refresh. Now you can see we've got brand filter and size filter. How this works is if I go into my themes here, go into the code for Dawn, and I look for the main collection template, which is in here, main collection product grid. And then I look at filters. You can see here that filters is actually an array on the collection object, and I can cycle through them to get the different ones that are enabled on my store. Okay, this is a bit of a complex example, but we're going to simplify it in this video. Also, I'm going to show you how you can grab an example from Shopify to add filters to basically any site you want. But before we do that, I want to show you how these filters come through in the URL structure. So if I head back here and let's do a filter again, let's put in a minimum price of 100. I want you to notice how something gets added to the URL up here. Now we have filter v.price.gte, which means greater than or equal to 100. And then we've got the other filter here for price. We've got LTE, which represents less than or equal to. So I wanted to show you that because it's important that it comes through as a URL, because one thing it means is that we can reload the page with that URL and we have the price filter applied. And it also means we can use that URL to asynchronously load data in as well, which I'll show you at the end of this video. So I'm going to close that for now, and I'm going to add product filters to another theme. In order to get some default code for Storefront Filters, I'm going to go into the official documentation for Storefront Filtering. Here you can find it at shopify.dev/themes/navigation-search/filtering. Okay, so I encourage you to read this. All the information about Storefront Filtering is here, including how the logic is applied. So filters are applied with AND logic, and within each filter group, it's applying with an OR logic. So you can read about that here. But what I want to draw your attention to is this example right here. I'm going to click to copy it, and then we can add this to any theme that we want. So I'm going to go into my theme library, scroll down to a simple theme, and what better simple theme than the one already called simple. So I'm going to duplicate that theme. But you can do this on any theme, just as long as it doesn't already have it. I'm going to rename this to simple with collection filters. Then I'm going to go inside the code and let's create a snippet for these Storefront filters. So I'm going to call this collection filters. And then I'm just going to paste in that code, hit save, and then I'm going to add that to the collection template. So heading up here to collection.liquid. This is a store created before Online Store 2.0, so we can insert liquid into the collection template. Obviously, you can have a liquid collection template in any version of Shopify, but commonly you'll find a collection.json nowadays. Anyway, side note over, I'm going to now add in that reference to that snippet. So render collection filters. Hit save on that. And then I'm going to open up a preview in the new tab. All right, I'm going to head back to that collection, which was collection shoes. And here you can see it's not formatted very nicely. It hasn't been affected by any CSS, but you can see here our list of different product filter options. So I can click on them and it opens up these kind of expandables, and I can do the same thing as I did on the Dawn theme. I can apply a filter of 100 to 140, which filters out the insane shoes, which, if you remember, were $80. Okay, so adding product filters to your theme, whether it was created before Unite 2021 or after, is pretty easy. We can just copy this filter display from Shopify and paste it in. Now, obviously, you'll want to do some CSS here, but we're not talking about CSS in this video. We're talking about the new Storefront filters. So that's really all you need to do to enable product filtering in your theme. You just need to make sure that it's added to your navigation here. Underneath your menus, just making sure that you've got this set up with all the filters that you want. And then, of course, you need to insert the code, which you can find here, into your theme. And that is essentially all you need in order to get this working on your theme. But I didn't want to leave this video with just a copy pasted bit of code. I actually want to show you how I like to implement this feature, and using my no layout hack, we can actually tag on those filters and load our products asynchronously. Before I show you this, however, I do recommend you go check out that video on creating an Ajax collection API using the layout none tag. But if you're familiar with that video, let's expand upon it by adding filters to our little collection API that we created in that video. So I'm going to go back up to Dawn Main, which is a theme I was working on. Click on edit code, and then let's exit out of any open files here. Okay, closing down this. If you remember in that video, I had a collection.demo file here, and I created this demo app. So if I am to go to the same collection again, and then I put in $view equals demo, then you can see the collection displayed through this alternative template, which is a view app. Okay, so that's where we left off in that video on the no layout hack. But what I want to do is add some filtering to this little demo right here. And for this example, I'm not going to use all the filters. I'm just going to bring in the price filter, because as I mentioned earlier, I think the price filter seems to be the one that's most important. It's the one that comes up so often with clients where they want to have a price filter, but they have to end up getting an app or something. That's no longer the case because it's built into Shopify. So I want to show you that in this video, in this little view app that I have here. So heading back to the code, what I'm going to do is let's create a new version of this so we can keep that one clean. And I'll just call it demo 2. I'll create template and paste in the exact same code. Except this time I'm not going to loop through all the variants. That was just for demonstration purposes. Instead, I want to put through the price, okay? Because we're going to be filtering via price. So if I refresh over here, doesn't seem to be, oh, that's because I haven't changed this to demo 2. And now you can see we don't have the variants anymore. All right, so what I'm going to have to do is go into my little collection.json.liquid, which is up here for some reason. And instead of variants, well, I might just leave the variants in, but I want to put in a price range here. So I'm going to put in price min, and then grab the product price min, and then add in the price max. And that will ensure that we get that data returning from our little API here. If I want to test that, I can go up to my view app here, open up my console. I've got the view extension installed. So if you like to use view, make sure you have the view extension installed. And if I refresh the page over here, look inside the products array, you can see we've got our price min and our price max. All right, so that data is now coming through. Let's head back to we can close that one down. Head over here, and I'm going to, first of all, if the min price is the same as the max price, so I'm going to have the product price min. If it's equal to product price max, then I'm just going to output the price minimum, but I'm going to do it this way. And if they're not the same, what I'm going to do is output a range. So vhtml product price min, string concatenation here to put in a dash between them, and then product price max, making sure to close these. I didn't close them before. All right, now if I hit save and I head back to here, you can see we've got a single price if the price min and price max is the same, but in the case of awesome sneakers where there's variants with different prices, it's going to give me a price range. Now these aren't user-friendly prices, so I'm going to change that. I'm going to go back into, I know we closed it down, but I just want to make one more modification here, and I want to put in money without trailing zeros, and I'll put that there as well. Hit save. Refresh over here. We've got a JSON error here. Oh yeah, because we are now outputting a string, we need to make sure this is wrapped in double quotes. There we go. Hit save on that. Refresh over here. And now you can see we've either got a single price or we've got a price range for each product. All right, so I'm gonna open up the View tab again. And what I'm gonna do next is give this a little bit of styling. So moving on from this one over here, I'm gonna copy and paste some styling because this is not a video on how to do CSS. So bear with me one sec while I just copy and paste some code here. What I've done here is just grabbed the Bootstrap CSS so I can use some classes up here, and then I've added some of my own classes as well. So let me just make some modifications to my HTML here, add some classes. I'm going to add a class here for card, add a class here for card header. These ones are both going to be class card body, and then I'm going to put these in a container. And then I'm going to put the whole thing in a container. Actually, I'll put that up here. All right, hit save on that. Let's see how that's changed our page. Here you can see we're now inside a container and we've got these cards for every product. All right. This is not essential, obviously. This is just a bit of CSS, so it looks a bit nicer while we're working with it. But now if I go into here, the next step is to insert those filters. So what I'm going to do is copy a part of this example code right here just for the price. So I'm going to grab from where it says when price range to end case. I'm going to grab all of this and then I'm going to put it just after my container here. All right. So bringing that back a bit. There we go. And so what we have here is we have this object of filter, which if we look in the example up here, we're filtering through all the collection filters. So we don't actually have that loop in our template over here. So what I'm going to do is just remove all of these where they're making reference specifically to the filter object because it doesn't exist right now. It's going to really simplify everything. Get rid of the max here. I'm also going to put the label above the input and the span. Hit save on that one. Now let's have a look inside our page over here. Now we've got some price filters. I'm going to just add a title for this one. H2 filter via price. I know it's bad practice having a H2 above a H1, but this is not a class on SEO either. And now you can see we've got kind of our HTML set up here with a bit of CSS. All right, so now to get this to work, I'm going to copy and paste some code that I created myself earlier, and then I'll explain it to you. This one runs through the collection filters. It attempts to find price range, and if it does, it then calculates what the minimum and maximum collection price should be. So if there is a minimum value, then we're going to use that. If not, it'll be 0. And if there is a max value set on that filter, we're going to use that. Otherwise, we're going to use the range max. And so that, at the end of the day, gives us two variables within Liquid: collection price max and collection price min. Okay. And then what I'm going to do with those two is let's load that into our view data right here. So I'm going to create a price filter object. The first one is going to be min, in which I'll put in collection price min, which is the object we created up here, and then max, collection underscore price max. All right, let's check whether that works. So hit save on that. Let's go over to our view app here and have a look. And here you can see we've got our max price, which should match what we had before, and the min price of 0. All right, so we can move this tab over here, and then let's bind these inputs to our view data. And the way we can do that is by using vmodel. So we're going to do vmodel price filter dot min, and then max over here. All right, hit save on that, heading over to our app. And if I update the min, you can see I don't even have to hit apply. It's just automatically binded to the value in our view app, okay? So of course, in order for this to work, what we're going to need to do is update our URL here and then trigger grab collection when we apply those new filters. So the way we can do that is I'm going to take this URL, which is kind of our base URL, and put it into a variable. So I'm going to let URL equal that. And then if we have a price max, I'm going to add that on to our URL. And if we have a price min, I'm going to add that onto our URL. So let's open up a one line if statement here. If price filter, sorry, I got to put in the this dot price filter dot min is greater than 0. Then we're going to take the URL and append onto the end of it, question mark, and then let's go back to our reference here to find out that URL parameter again. Here it is. It's filter v price dot LTE or GTE. In this case, it's going to be GTE. And then after the equals, put plus, and then the price filter min. Then in the next line, let's do the same, but for the maximum. Price filter dot max is less than the initial collection price max. So let me put in collection price max. And for consistency's sake, we should put in, instead of 0, collection price min. Now, just to be clear here, when we're using liquid variables, that's always going to stay the same no matter what happens on the page load. Liquid variables get loaded on the server side and come through once each page load. So these liquid variables, although they match up to the same thing on page load, we can update these in our view app without being able to update these. So these will represent the value on page load. All right, so same process again here. I'm just going to copy and paste because there's only a few letters to change. And instead of GTE, it's going to be LTE. And instead of min, it's going to be max. And then I forgot to put in this here, this dot. And I'll hit save on that. Now we have to bind this button here. We don't actually have a form in our document here, so I'm going to change that to a button with an on-click event listener using view. I'm going to have the same text of apply, and then in here for click, what am I going to do? I'm going to trigger that grab collection. All right, I'm going to hit save on that. Let's head back to our app here, refresh. We've got an error here, unexpected or invalid token. I seem to have made a typo here somewhere. There's 2 single quotes there in a row. I'll hit save on that. Let's refresh over here. No more errors, thankfully. And then I'm going to filter out, let's start with insane shoes. So I'm going to filter out insane shoes by putting a minimum of 100 and then hitting apply. And we've got an issue with our JSON. Let's have a look. We're bringing in, let's have a look at our network tab here. I see we've put in question mark when we already have a question mark. So we're going to need to put in and there. Otherwise, we're overriding what's set here. That's my mistake. Let's refresh. You've got our initial payload there from our little collection API. And if I put the $100 minimum in here, you can see it filters out those insane shoes. And if we look inside our network tab here, you can see that's because we have this URL parameter of price needs to be greater than or equal to 100. And of course, the shoes that were filtered out are $80. So they get filtered out and we get a new object here, which goes into our view app, obviously. So here you can see we've got 7 products, whereas if I take that down to 0 and hit apply, we've got 8 products. So here we've got our filter, and it actually does the price range. So if I do 120 to 140, or let's say 130 to 140, it's only going to show up awesome sneakers, even though the minimum price is 100, but it goes up to 140. So it will allow products with any variant that is in that range. That'll ensure that it shows up. But there you go, guys. That's basically it. We have a price filter now, and it's loading asynchronously. So just to recap, as we saw in this video, I recommend you read the documentation here on Storefront Filtering, but you can save yourself a lot of time with creating the filters yourself by using this form, which we can drop into any theme we want. It runs through this object here, collection.filters, which will pull from, if we go back to our navigation here, the list we set up in this section right here. So underneath the menus, we've got our list of collection and search filters. If we want one to not show up, we can simply remove it from the loop by clicking over here and taking it out of our store settings. In my example, however, I've used it asynchronously, and what I've done is explicitly taken the price filter here and not the other filters. So you can pick and choose. You don't have to do the full list every time. That just gives you the availability of the data within Shopify Liquid. But of course, if you want to filter down and select only the filters you want by checking the filter type, you can do that as well. And that allowed me to just bring in the price range filter and then link it up with my View app. So I hope this has shone some light for you on how to use the Storefront filters. As far as I'm aware, there aren't any other secret Online Store 2.0 features, but if there is, let me know. I think that about wraps it up for Online Store 2.0. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this little look at the new Storefront filtering and how you can use it. If you've learned something new today, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you'd like to go deeper into theme development, I'd encourage you to check out my mastermind community, which you can find at shopifythemedeveloper.com. Otherwise, happy coding, and I'll see you on the next video.